by the end of the day, I still sleep my 6 hours a day. I still drink Coke. I still drink water from time to time from tap water. So we all the same. The only difference is what do you do with the time that you're awake, and that's it.
Yes.
And younger, I was overconfident. I was cocky, and what I have learned from that is just you are creating your own challenge. I think life is full of challenge already. You don't need to
Oh,
create your on top of that. So please set your expectation low, so we have a chance to become friends.
yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Unlock Potential podcast, where we interviews inspiring entrepreneurs in different kind of domains. Today, I am honored to have a dentist, a CEO, my mentor, and most importantly, a friend, Dr. Back, with us today. We're going to talk about this journey. Hi, Dr. Back. How are you doing today? Dr. Back Nguyen.
Hi, Kevin. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you for the kind words. Now you've set the expectations pretty high. Let's hope that people are not too difficult with me.
Oh, I don't think so. As soon as we get into the matter, people will see how amazing you are.
You're not
Um,
helping. You're not helping right now. But if I may, let's start with this. It's by the end of the day, I still sleep my 6 hours a day. I still drink Coke. I still drink water from time to time from tap water. So we all the same. The only difference is what do you do with the time that you're awake, and that's it. And
yes.
younger, I was overconfident. I was cocky, and what I have learned from that is just you are creating your own challenge. I think life is full of challenge already. You don't need to
Oh,
create your on top of that. So please set your expectation low, so we have a chance to become friends.
yeah. Well,
From the bottom of my heart.
no problem. Well, back. Let's start with let's tell us a little bit about your early days and what inspired you to enter the field of dentistry and business, basically.
So this is a long short story, but to make a short story, you look at me, you see an Asian. My parents are immigrant, so the only way for me to make it home was to have the title DR in front of my name, whatever it takes. And this is a story. What is less classic? It took me 20 years to admit that in public. So that's the my own recipe. What's also a little different about me is I was born an entrepreneur. I am attracted to people, not to thief, not to science, not to books. Funny that today I am recognized in all those fields. What is driving me forward is the love of people. So it took me some time to find my ways back to that. People will say, "Yeah, as a dentist, you can connect with people." Yes, I did that, but it's still a small part of the soul I was looking to touch. And
Okay.
as you get older, you always kind of resort back to where you were supposed to be. Took me 20 years, so I'm not the fastest. But at least today I'm at peace with myself. So the what inspired me? Nothing inspired me. I was forced into becoming a doctor. Then I make the most out of it. I'm a doctor. What helped me is the power of gratitude. Because dentistry wasn't forced to take me in, but it did. And by dentistry, I talk about the profession as a whole, patients, professor, colleagues alike. It gave me a chance to have a title and also a social status. You know that if you play well with social status, come also a credit line. So that helped a lot. Slowly, as things are getting comfortable, I was always pushing further and further. So I was that thirst of mine of connecting made me very unique as a dentist. Because let's be honest, nobody likes to go to the dentist. They hate
Oh,
to be at chair, in that chair, I hate to be there
Hmm.
too. That was the first connection we had. You don't like it, I don't either. Let's make it fun, and in the right kind of way. And the odd thing is, when you are the dentist, you don't need a funny guy to laugh. You take everything they'll be throwing at you just to have a lifeline out of that chair. So very quickly, I became a human dentist. And I cannot say
Okay.
that the other one are not a human, but the other one are still there to treat your teeth. In my case, teeth was in my way to connect. And something else that I am fortunate is I'm very quick working. So if I know what to do, if I have identified the problem, things are going very well. So most of the time that I have with my patient was, yes, to identify the problem, but to create that confidence, that connection that we need, that human connection. And that was kind of the secret to my success as a dentist. Now it worked so well that I signed with myself 10 years being a dentist and said after that I'm going to give myself the chance to do something else.
Okay.
Now in today I think it's my 24th years as a dentist. I'm trying to slowly emerge out of it, but my patient love me that much, and I can tell you that I stayed because I love my patient too. So
Mm-hmm.
nothing inspiring of me getting to dentistry. What kept me there, though, I think that was a unique story and something that I think most people can relate to. I'm not here to try to recruit dentists, so this is not a sales speech. It's not a recruitment speech. It's like whatever you do, whatever you stop doing in life. Pretty sure that is not your first choice, but there's always a way for you to leverage your way out of it, or at least to leverage your way when you'll be doing it to have fun. And the day you have fun is the day success will come knocking at your door. I can tell you that. Um, Funny is, I come from a family of doctors. Everybody wants to be doctors. People before me, people after me. That was kind of the mold. I was a black sheep. When I got into dental school, people were like, "Oh shit, he made it." At least they didn't know what I would have become if I wasn't a doctor, and today we laugh about it. But today I'm a top 100 doctor. I'm one of the most influential doctors, and that's not me saying. That's people saying that to me. And I became a very influential doctor, not because I was the best, not because I was the smartest, because I was looking to connect. And that
Mm-hmm.
me being unique, me being the best at what I do, and me doing something that nobody else was doing. So if you're looking for, let's say that people are in a very short attention span and they want to lock out right after this one, try to find a way to love what you do, even if you hate what you do. Everybody likes winning. Find that edge of yours, and you'll be surprised how that unfortunate luck of yours can turn into something very cool.
Well, that's really amazing what you're saying because me in the way I'm completely different from you. I'm a task oriented kind of guy, and once I'm in that task, I'm fully focused. Nothing around me disturbs me, and sometimes people think that I'm always mad because I have such a serious face, but in my challenge with the way that I am is to connect a little bit more with people when I'm into my task because that's an issue. But and also that's also another way that this challenge me is that I'm so focused on something and I'm also a perfectionist. When I start something, I want it to be perfect and I delay the time frame when I'm delivering what I'm working on. And I remember a few years ago, I used to work in a company called Math Science, which is a company that goes into elementary school, daycare, and to teach kids fun in a fun way. The good thing about science, because I have a biochemistry background with my studies, I have a bachelor and a master degree into that, and My boss was telling me, Kevin, you're doing a great job, but here's something that is your challenge. You take too much time when you do something because you want it to be perfect. You need to have a way, you need to be able to analyze what you're doing. Is what you're doing good enough? If it's good enough, stop, move on to the next task. So that's always something that I'm working on. And because I'm so focused, the human side sometimes and the perfectionist in me, it's always tough, a fight that I have within me that focus on what you're doing. That way you do it well, but don't focus too much and spend too much time to deliver what you have to do. So
Yeah,
that's
Kevin,
it's
I know that right now you're the host, but if we take back our role as mentor-mentee,
mhm,
I will have to strongly disagree with what you just said. First thing is, you cannot be somebody else than yourself. So if you're a task-oriented person,
mhm,
accept that and excel at it. The worst thing you can be is to try to be something you're not. I was not a task-oriented person. I became one, but I was a people person. So because I needed to stay alive, I needed a way to connect with people. Then I got late in my schedule. Then I have to be very efficient executing the task. Then I have to be focused. But it came as a side effect, not because I want to be that. So in your case, if you want to find, and by the end of the day, you might be doing the same thing, but the priority will help you go through. So if you're a task-oriented person and you know that that's how you are, you have to accept that. Don't try to fight it. Embrace it, empower it. To be that person will also means that you will have to pay a certain price.
mhm.
And
Yeah,
on top of those price, sometimes you have to give up something else, something completely opposite to it. So by the end of the day, if you go through this, it's not easy, but because you know that that was your nature, nothing will stop you from getting out of your nature to just compensate kind of the counter effect that you are creating, just being too focused on yourself. So that's number one. That's an opinion, but if you want to be a champion, the only way to be a champion is to be yourself. You cannot be a
yeah.
champion copying somebody else. Number one. Number two, and I hope that that person, that boss of yours, is not on the line listening to us, but that is shit. That advice is shit. It's basically trying to tell you how to be a mediocre employee. I know that they're standard. I know that they are um, stuff that can be average. But how can you move forward in life being average? It's never good enough. So again, let's go back to you have to know who you are.
Mhm,
Then you know what you want. So if you need more time to take care of a task, there's a reason. Yes, you will have to fit inside of the constraint of your job. But if you train yourself just to be good enough for that person, next time you have to change boss, the next boss will give you another set of standard, and you have to go to that again. So basically, you're a prostitute somehow, if I may. I use very strong imagery, but that's not being authentic to who you are. I'm not saying to impose who you are to everyone, but you have to keep your integrity to yourself. So let's go back to your case. You're a task-oriented person. You super concentrate when you do something. At least you know that. Apologize in advance. Tell people that, okay, I'm not mad. This is what I'll be doing, and I want to give you the best. Allow me to. You did your job. Then do your job and deliver. If it's okay to you, now you have to make sure that it matches the standard of your boss, your team, your company, or your client. But if it matched their standard and you over deliver, be open to hear it. But don't set yourself at that standard because that boss will change. That client will change. So maybe I was a little harsh on the wordings, but to deliver a job, which is just a job,
mhm.
and you have to do average, will be the best recipe for you to get to be stuck there for the rest of your life until they replace you. If You're looking at this podcast, you're looking for more, you're looking to evolve. Be yourself, excel, excel for yourself. The fact that you're pleasing your clients should be a side effect. Don't fight them though. Make sure that you still know that they're the boss.
Hmm.
They're not the one setting the standard. Your standard should always exceed the expectations, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I did cut
Mhm,
you there, but make sure that you make a difference between what is required of you
mhm.
and what you should do, especially if you're in the entrepreneurship field and doctors.
But you know what? Uh, what you're saying, I was thinking about all my job uh, experience that I had every, through my life, and that's always been something that I was told until where I'm working right now. Um, I am able to work within the parameters that they set because I've been working in call centers, and of course they have parameters for to make sure that we answer as many calls as possible. And they were always telling me to be careful with the time that I was spending on calls. However, at the end of the day, I am always the best regarding to the evaluation. Every time I was getting evaluating, I was always hitting 100% and stuff like that. So they realized that okay, well, it takes a little bit more times on calls with the customers, but once the call is done, there's no following calls for customers that are calling back because what I provided was the wrong information and stuff like that. So they have been able to less be after me on the time that I've been spending on the phone with every customers because they know, look, Kevin, at the end of the day, we know we trust him. There's no worries about him because he delivers the goods. He Yeah, it takes a little bit more time with the customers, but at the end of the day, whatever the customer called, or at this point, I'm at the chat department now. Whenever the customer comes in and asks for something, I deliver. He delivers. So let him do what he's doing.
For the people who are listening to this podcast, you have to know who you're taking your advice from. I'm a world
Mm,
record author. I wrote 150 books plus, because I don't count all of them until lately, within less than 7 years. Uh, I teach speed and momentum. That's why you are following my mentorship program.
mhm,
So basically, I'm taking time. I have my standard set at some point, but it doesn't come with always a price. It will come with challenges, which you
mhm,
have to overcome to compensate. But you're saying that it takes time too. I agree. Doesn't mean that I have less time than I do in a week what people usually can do in a year. And
yeah.
I take my time. And how can you conjugate quality and speed? It's something very hard too. And
Yes.
you set yourself the same standard, and you know that it will never be perfect because perfection is a lie. It is made perfect in narrative afterwards. While you're doing it, it's never perfect. But you do the best with what you have, then you move on, and then you keep improving on that. So I just want to make clear that doesn't mean that you take your time, that is necessarily a bad thing of efficiency or productivity. Doesn't also mean that because you're very quick at what you do, that your result is not good. It's all depending on knowing who you are
Mhm,
and how to set your standard. So if I want just to clarify, what I told you today is not to rebel against your boss, not to tell
mhm,
them that oh shit. It's to set your standard at your own pace and then raise them and raise them. But every time that the standard of your boss or your clients it's met, that's an average. Every time you over deliver, that you have exceeded expectation, now you're a champion.
Yes.
Careful, that's a race. Because if you keep dealing with the same people, expectation will raise up slowly. You're the one raising the bar. That's fine. So that's why you still always have to keep evolving and over delivering on your own promise. I know it's a very subtle nuance, but if you have set the fact that you know who you are, you know what you want, the rest will fall in line. If you skip those two questions, it's a mess because
Mm,
you never know what to believe when people talk to you. Is that an advice? Is that a criticism? Is that just to sabotage you? You don't know that until you have a strong base, and the base you can change. It's always you.
mm. Well, you briefly mentioned the fact that you're a world record author. To put people in perspective, Dr. Bak Nguyen wrote 144 books in 6 years. Tell us what drives you to write and how do you manage your time to be able to achieve such a high level of productivity?
Let me start with the fact that I am a world class lazy guy.
How
So
weird is that? This guy is a world record author and he calls himself a world
and
lazy guy.
been
Okay.
with me for a year and a half now, more or less, and you know that how truthful I am to my words, right?
Yes.
The it started because I started a new concept in dentistry, and it have we have took millions to just advertise that concept. I didn't
Okay.
have a million. I didn't want to just hire people then to tell them what to say, and they're gonna just scrap the whole thing by the end of the day anyway. So I met a producer, and he was a crazy guy. Said that the only way for you to do this is to go on stage yourself. That was a bad start. I'm lazy, right? Why take that on my shoulder? But I didn't have that 2 or 3 millions that we were asking for to make the marketing campaign. So, okay, I guess I have to do it. And then I basically invent a new way to deliver dentistry based on all the problematic of my profession for the last century. I was about to leave the profession. That was my way to thank my profession and to give a legacy. But then think with me. I was basically going on stage in front of a crowd of people, telling them what they do is wrong. It's a bad start.
Yeah.
Um, but as a dentist, I didn't understand that because for me, it's simple. You have a pain, which all everybody have. If I can identify the pain, now we cut the pain out or we solve the problem. So that's how we are trained as doctor.
Mm.
It doesn't work like that in real life. That's why you hate your dentist so much. It's because we're trained in that mentality. Imagine that I am in front of a crowd of dentists and I identify the pain. Most of them are in denial. Half will maybe listening. And I tell them what they do is wrong. Jeez. Now they're gonna
Good
take that
luck.
thing and throw it back at me. I'm screwed. So that producer of mine helped me through that process and say, you don't want to confront people. You don't want to tell them what they do is wrong. So what do you want me to do? Say, let's change audience. Hmm, okay. That was to sell to. And then before speaking, I had the wisdom of listening to the whole answer first. And you're an entrepreneur by nature. You don't have to sell that. You in front of future entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur, and just tell them what you do. Just share with them what you do and why you're doing it. That will build up your confidence and charisma. So the day you're gonna arrive in front of a crowd of dentists, you might get out of that one alive. Since I'm lazy, I like that plan. And I didn't have to bet a million or two event, so that was okay for me to take some time to build up my confidence and just since I'm lazy, let's make it easy. So that's how I start embracing the stage. But then here's the curveball. He was a very ambitious producer. I said, "Hey, book you up. Your first gig will be after Michelle Obama."
What?
By then, President Trump just got elected the first time. Um, I know it's just the first time because I think we all know what's coming, and I'm not for or against, but Michelle Obama was in everybody's mind. So why? Why not her? What? So put yourself in my shoes. I didn't really react at what it's like. I wasn't, by that stage, I wasn't even speaking English fluidly.
Oh
But
my
then,
God.
yeah, a spot on stage in Toronto after Michelle Obama, and I was too proud as a person to walk out of that. But Michelle Obama put the fear of God in me. So I went back home, and I need to prepare somehow. And my producer saw that and said, "Okay, I think I heard you talk, buddy. All you have to do is take a beer and just go on stage. You'll be fine." I was still looking at him like this. And then he understood that, okay, you need a little more. Go watch some TED Talks, prepare a few about your experience, and I'll tell you which ones to take. So I went back home, and by then I didn't even know what a TED Talk was. I heard about it, but I'm so busy doing what I do that I don't have no time watching other people's talking about how they inspire or how they do. So I went online, I watched some TED Talks, and it was boring as hell. Couldn't get through it. And by that time, a TED Talk was 20 minutes. Yes, I have ADD. So I stumbled upon a speech of an American admiral, American William McRaven, and his speech was, "If you want to change the world, make your bed." And the speech I stumbled upon was also re-edited by a group called Goldcast. So they put music, and it was 3 minutes. It was very emotionally appealing. I got hooked on it. I think I listened to it maybe 20 times the first day. And um, I have a very analytic mind. So what I did is I went through that and I analyzed the recipe of his great speech. I don't have
Okay.
the same speech, but if I understood the recipe of it, I might have a chance to at least try to copy it somehow.
Yeah, you were able to figure
The
out the
structure, yeah,
structure, and once the structure is there, you just put your
titles of that structure. But what happened is I've been through that and I start writing about myself, picturing
mm,
myself on stage with the charisma of Admiral William McRaven, which I don't have, by the way. And the first time you go on stage, you always try to look good, so you talk about what you do best. And I met with another friend of mine. He all the awards in filmmaking in Canada, he had that at least once or twice.
okay.
And as a dentist, you can meet a lot of great people. And if you start talking to them, it's crazy the kind of friendship you can create. So long story short, I was talking to him about what I was doing and say, he was looking at me and say, "Okay, if you want a real secret to this, stop trying to look good. Share your failures. Share the challenge you have, and this is where the meat is. That's the real story."
It makes you human. Okay.
I went back home. I took that advice. So instead of trying to write a TED talk of me looking good,
Mhm.
I start looking at the failures I face. Now, by that time, was around 35, and I've been an entrepreneur most of my life. So maybe at least 30 years of entrepreneurship. You know how many times I fell?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and as an entrepreneur, you're always moving forward. So you just keep in mind the best thing that you did, not the
Hmm.
worst. But those are still somewhere inside. You won't deny it. So when I start writing about my own failures, man, it's like it opened a gate and things just flood away.
Hmm.
So easy to write about those. But I did survive every one of them. So my speeches were getting better and better. I kept writing from my phone. I was just like texting from my phone because it felt so good. Finally, speaking about my failures. Long story short, usually I do this at 4 in the morning. So between 4 and 7, I have 3 hours for myself. Then the day start, and that my real schedule take over. Sometimes that I'm so inspired, I will just text while I'll be waiting between patients or be waiting for my wife or kid. And writing is texting. So I was writing from my phone, basically from the note application. And long story short, within 2 weeks, I sum up 21 TED Talks. Then I just
Okay.
realized that if I and a TED Talk of 10 to 20 minutes, it's about that 1,500 words to 2,000 words. I wasn't that fluid, so I was I was writing in English just to picture myself on stage, and then that goes of my boot camp as an author and a speaker. Today, people think that English is my native language, which it's kind of are, kind of is by now. You see, I still have to make sure that my verbs are well, but it's all confusing in my mind because I need talking to share. I'm not speaking in French or English. I don't make the difference anymore. But it started there, me writing about my past failures, about how I survived those failures. But for an entrepreneur, how you survive a failure, that's a success.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
a good story to tell because people are relating to you. You don't have to pretend. You can be yourself and then just laugh a bit because now it's done. You're over it. So I put an introduction and a conclusion, and that was my first book written within 2 weeks. And I never realized that
Okay.
that was a book, and I never realized that I was already starting to make history. What happened after it's I went back to my producer and said, "Hey, it's done." He didn't believe me, but when I showed him the pile of paper, and actually, we never printed that out. It was on an iPad. It was just scrolling through, and holy shit, you did it! But it was in English, and I am very involved as a person, and I have a very heavy past, heavy in a good sense, about my involvement in politics. So he looked at me and said, "You know what's coming?" I remember looking at him and saying, because basically I was doing exactly what the French Quebecer or the French Canadian Quebecois were accusing the successful people of doing. It's as soon as you succeed, you start speaking in English because that's the language of business.
Hmm.
Nothing against them, but now you just turn your back to the people who raise you basically, and then you embrace them. So I had no regret. I know exactly what I was doing, why I did that in English, but they will be right. Look at me and be mad. So just to respect that, I beat myself to the bone, rewriting the same book now in French.
Ha.
It was 25,000 words. I can tell you that in French it became 35,000 words.
Yes.
Basically, and AI was not what it is today. I did that out of hand. Even Google Translate, it slowed me more than it helped me by then. And please, Google, I love you. But uh, all to say that I really want to be truthful to myself and to what I said in the past. So I rewrote the whole book in French. And I want to do that within a month because I was that ambitious. But say, let's say that I can do a book in two languages within a month. That's something cool to say. And as a
Yes.
doctor and as an entrepreneur, I'm very competitive. But to redo something a second time, man, you don't have the same motivation. That that joy of being feeling free when you write, that's gone. Then now it's
Hmm.
like, oh, I have to do that. You understand the words coming out of it in French and English. And I can tell you that I successfully managed to finish it within 2 weeks and 6 hours. Add that to the first 2 weeks, that was done within a month.
Hmm.
I also made my master degree in French. I didn't have a degree, but I can tell you exactly the difference between French and English. And if you want something simple, A language is something that you use every day to program yourself. Now I know why French people are the way they are and why English people are the way they are. That doesn't mean that some one is better than the other, but the way we speak program ourselves. So basically, what I had an insight within a month of how we program people, looking at my own failures. So that was kind of kind of a very funny mix, but that was my introduction to a new superpower that I stumbled upon, writing books.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm lazy, right? So I'm not even looking to write books. You can see that even in my first book, I said that this is my first book. Never, not sure that it's gonna be a second one. What happened after is I kept waking up without any wake up or device at 4 in the morning. So what happened when you wake up at 4? Before I was writing a book. After I finished those two, to me I was done, and at least for a while. But I kept waking up at 4 in the morning. So at 4 in the morning, you wake up and you try to sleep again. It will take you about an hour or so to do, and then you're late because by the time you sleep, now it's the time for you to go to work. So it's
Yes.
the most it's the easiest way to fuck yourself. Excuse my language. So after a few days, I said, okay, I'm awake. Let's wake up. Let's do something about it. Took me about a week to find another subject to write about, and I never stopped since. So count the 2 weeks, multiply that by 7 years, and I'm a little late sometime, but that's how 150 books came on the table. Some take longer, some take shorter. My son of 7, by the time he expressed his wish to write with me, was also one of the main reason why I went so crazy on my numbers. It's because he wanted to join,
Mm.
and it took me a year before I can find a way because I don't know how to write storybooks for children by that time. It took
Mm.
me a year to figure it out, and then as soon as he got in, we had so much fun doing it that basically this is the numbers. My first year, I had 9 books over 12 months. That's crazy, but that's what I did. Then I was mad because that's to me, I missed my mark. I like round numbers, so I was looking for 12 on 12.
Okay.
Next round number I could achieve was 15 on 15. So busy thing with me. I have to write 2 books a month for the 3 months after that mark of
Yeah.
12 to be able
Yes.
to reach that 15 on 15. So the day I reached 15 on 15, I was exhausted. I was done. Then my kid went to me, he was 8 by then, say, Papa, when are we starting? He said, oh shit.
Oh.
That's another story. But long story short, we started and I went to his space. So yes, we wrote children books. It was about 5,000 words a book, but I don't care. It was harder for me to write a 5,000 word story than to write a 25,000 words book because it's another concept. And that kid of 8 have to understand it. He was
Yes.
understanding it. He was writing with me. So the story was we went back and forth. So very long story short, by that was by the end of November that year. By February, the actually yeah, by the almost the end of February, I count the number of books because I had an event to give my first Dr. Bak event. I was the anchor of the event. 300 people went just to listen to my story. So I have to go to, okay, how many books do I have? And I lost count. And I count more than once to make sure, but I have 36 books over 18 months and in a week. That didn't make any sense. I went from 15 on 15 to 36
Yeah.
with 2 months and a week. My kid happened. And that plus 1 week, I can tell you, because I have to wait for him. We were writing a lot in the holidays vacation. Then we continue a little bit, but he still have to go to school. I still have to have other books to write. And one of the books that I kind of always postpone was one I wrote with my mentor who create 18 billions in value. I was postponing him for my kid.
Wow.
Long story short, again, I'm saying that, but it is a very long short story. I realized that the love I share with my son allow me to break what I call the sound barrier. I went from 15 on 15, which I gave everything I had, to 36 on 18
Eating.
months plus 1 week. And that plus 1 week, it was his spring break. We have to wait for him to complete the final book. But after that, there was no resistance anymore. We were
Mm.
on a war on our own, a league on our own. Sorry. He must be thinking of me right
Yes.
now. And by that time, I didn't master the art of publishing. All I mastered the art of writing.
Okay.
You know, if you spend about 1 to 3 grand to edit each of your book, if you have one, it's okay. If you have 36, that's gonna put you under.
Yeah.
So by then I have to say, okay, so what's next? It's I have to learn to publish and edit my own book. That took me another 3 months or so, and by July that year or August that year, I was fluid with Amazon and Apple Books, who start releasing my books a few hours after submission. Apple went first, so I was always be grateful, and Amazon followed very quickly. And when I talk about Amazon, I talk about paperback book. So those two companies were kind of my first big fans. It gave
Mm.
a body to what we do. It gave also recognition that we are now real authors, published authors. And by then, people were all, you know, some people always like to punch hole in your story. So, oh, if you don't have an editor, so that's not a real thing. You self-published, so yeah, you're the second-class author. Blah 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 blah. And I realized that most people talking, they didn't even have a book, or at most they have one or two.
Mm.
I had 40 or 50 by that time. And keep in mind that I kept my pace going on, so 2 books a month in average. So the end of my year was always the end of August since I started in September when I first started. Um, and I managed to keep that pace until lately. I still have until the end of August to know if I make my numbers of this year. I'm way behind. But it's kind of the story for the last 3 years. So let's see. And today I have AI, so I won't be shy using it either. But what I'm trying to say here is what really helped me is when COVID happened, everything was closed. The only thing that really was in function was everything that was online.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And COVID broke a lot of things, but the book industry was already broken before. COVID just shed light on that, and people that were on Amazon went on keep selling. People that were on Amazon, that was it. Today, even Barnes and Noble are getting the titles from Amazon. So that's just and Barnes and Noble is the biggest book chain in the United States. I
Mhm.
think the total 3 billions in annual sales. That was from my last numbers. Maybe it's more or a little less today. I hope it's more because if there's a message here, I'm a word record writing books, but people don't read books anymore. I cannot blame
Yeah.
them. And then you have to readjust to. So I kept writing books because it was easy. I know how to do it, and it's the recursion is very fun. Lately, I even mentor people to get them to beat my own word record, so they become word record themselves. So that was another story to tell.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I know that your next question will be what would be next. It's been now 3 years that I keep pushing AI to see what else. How can I breathe life into my books so it is more actual to how we consume today. I went
Okay.
from audiobooks to what we call UAX, which is a movie without image. This is good for fictional books. I even tried that on a self-empowerment book, and that was working too, but the market wasn't there. Lately, with the advancement in AI, and since I was there since kind of the beginning, um, I leverage each single advance in different AI, and I kind of package all of that. So I am happy to, for the first time, announce publicly that we are releasing this year a documentary of 3 hours on economy called COVID Economics. Is there to defend you. It's there to defend the world post COVID and how to not just let things go while and again read about the mistake in history books. And I made that heavily leveraging AI. So I should have said that because the the, the documentary by itself has its value. With
Hmm.
your love, with your support, and with some luck, we might even have a chance to reach the Oscar. That said, that was on my standard, so I have very high standard. But what it's mind blowing, it's how can a guy like me, a dentist,
Yes.
yes, I have means, I have money, I have teams, I have apprentices like you, Kevin, who contribute. But how can you make a 3 hours documentary that can have a chance to aim for the Oscar without the support of a studio? I had better. I had AI rising. So I'm gonna leave each of you to discover that and make your own opinion of what is AI. Is it AI good or not? The documentary itself is there to help you or help you understand how can you leverage your voice in order to not get fucked in the future. And I'm using that word a lot today. I'm very polite as a person, but I think it's enough. It's enough. We have to make us stand at a certain point without rebelling. And for this, you need to have the right information first. That's what it is. The right information provide to you.
Hmm.
The fact I use AI to do it, it was the only way for me to get to that stage. If not, I will have to get in line in the studios, get in line at the government, and then maybe hope that they are interested. And usually, if you say something that is not going in their way, they're gonna just turn it down.
Hmm.
That is the hope I'm bringing to every one of you today. I know we went from me being a dentist to me being an artist, and now it's a hope for everybody. Be true to yourself. Know who you are. Know your talent. Know your flaws. So leverage the right one. You can avoid stepping on the flaws, but you cannot deny them either. And you have to understand how to empower your own strength. With that said, if you can be confident enough to be open, to embrace novelty, in other words, to embrace what you don't know today, you have a chance of becoming something else completely. And that was my story. I had some talents, I have some resource, but not enough. But because I knew who I was, because I knew what I was looking for, and I was open to everything else that I didn't know. You have a 3 hours documentary, Hollywood standard, I hope, and that can be made now by people like you and I. Actually, even if I may, I'm going to put you some pressure here because I know that this was a favor to you,
Oh
but
boy.
nothing is free with me.
All right. Bring it.
What will be to match me on that? And your public will be the witness of your own rise because you've been through with me. You know how I work. You know how I think. You have access
Yes.
to the same tools, and the tools are just getting better and better. So
Every
hopefully,
day.
before the end of this year, you'll be seeing a documentary from Kevin, and that should tell you something else. Like, holy shit, those guys are not crazy. They might be crazy, but they're not bluffing.
Hmm.
And that's the power we bring to you today. So take the time to know who you are. Take the time to know what you want. Then you can ask yourself, who can I help? How can I provide something of value? And if guys like me and Kevin leverage yourself from an ideal to a purpose to Hollywood, you too can.
Well, a lot of surprises. I wasn't aware that we were at the stage that we could announce your documentary back. Wow. Yeah, you have these tendencies of always rising the bar and bring surprises, good surprises. Um, well, that wraps up today's episode. I have a lot of other questions,
You want to cut it short,
but
huh?
but but there's no way this is the only episode that I'm inviting you to the podcast back. I'm bringing you back, that's for sure. Thank you for spending some of your precious time with us today for the podcast and to share your your path and your knowledge, some of your knowledge with us. Thank you again back for everything that you do, and can't wait to see what's coming up next. Uh, from you back. By the way, for people who want to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you, Dr. Back in the end?
The easiest way is to look me up on LinkedIn. I'm very proficient and eminent on LinkedIn. That
Mm-hmm.
is for me because LinkedIn comes also with who you are, so it's easy for us to speak. It's also how I have access to a lot of very powerful people around the world. It's through LinkedIn. Now, you can try on the other social network like Facebook or Instagram, but it's not as reliable. So let's say that you've been through this and you want to make a dent in the universe. You need advice. You want to go even to a mentorship, or you just want to read a book. Look me up. I'm on Google. That's the easy part. If you want to reach me personally, go from LinkedIn. If you don't have an account, this is my advice to you: make one. If you want to gain influence, that's the only way to go. Um, because you're not connecting with a fan base, you're connecting with peers.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dr. Bak Nguyen, I have the same name everywhere. BakNguyen. Um, and I'll be looking forward to connect with you. And if you do, please give me some context. So you have no idea how many mails I receive a day, but put me some context that, oh yeah, you've been through a podcast from Kevin and you like us too. Or what you can also do is write to Kevin and he makes sure that next time on the podcast you are invited and you can be able to even ask your own questions.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, thank you again very much, back, for your knowledge and your time.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning today into the Unlock Potential Show. Join us next time as we uncover more stories of innovations and success. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, press the subscribe button, and ring the bell so you won't miss our next episode. If you have any comments regarding what we talked today, don't be afraid to write them below. And remember, every big journey begins with a small step. Let's take that first step together here at Unlock Potential. See you on the next episode, everyone. Brought to you by Wonder Studio and produced by Kevin Raphael.